Good morning, guys, and welcome back to the channel. Okay, today we're going to do a little compass trick. We're going to take what we've discussed thus far and put it into application. Now, we started with our map, and we have taken the map and laid it out on a table and found a location, a starting point. In this case, it's going to be this. Now, this could be a trailhead marker or some other marker that's on the map of some description. This can be a bridge. This can be a road junction. This can be the end of a power line. This can be whatever. And this is what I've determined to be my starting point. And then using my compass, the edge of my compass, I have plotted out on the map an actual route from A to B to C to D. Once I have done that, then I have taken a notebook and I have plotted out the actual route so that I have my starting point, my azimuth from my starting point, my back azimuth for the return, we'll get to that in a minute, the distance and the rough ETA it's going to take me to cross that distance. And then my next point and my next point. Any and all little points in there that I need to know. We've already discussed this. So today we're going to do it in a practical application. Now, as you can see behind me, I live in a semi-tropical jungle. And what this means in English is you don't have a lot of long-range sighting you can do. You see in very short sighting. So let's talk about how we are how we can leapfrog for the short leapfrog and the long leapfrog. Leapfrogging is simply saying that I come up and I get my, leapfrogging. Leapfrogging is I'm going to take my compass, I'm going to put the needle into the doghouse, I am going to sight at my target, I am going to lock onto that target, and then I'm going to walk to that target. When I get there, I will bring the compass back up, put the needle in the doghouse, sight a new target on the same course, and walk to it. Okay? Now, in this thick cover behind me, that's not going to be far now, is it? 20 yards maybe? A lot of times it's in feet. But I'm going to keep a general direction in it so that I know that I'm facing a given way. How do I know that? Well, for example, let us say for the moment, and you can't see this, just follow along with me. If my course is this way and I bring up and I sight on that and I pick a target as far as I can see that way, I also can look down at the moment I see my shadow. Okay? My shadow relative to me is pointing that direction. I'm going to keep my shadow there. That means I'm still heading in the same direction. Okay? So I take off and I head to that tree, that V-notch, that place, whatever it is that I sighted in on. When I get there, I bring the compass back up and I'm going to target it. The next thing that I can see, putting it in the doghouse, bringing it up, okay, right there. Where's my shadow? Okay, keep going. That way, if I drift just a little left or right, it's not such a big deal, okay? But I'm also not having to just walk like this. You have to be situationally aware of your environment. Now, usually, doing this, I'd have my big old walking stick. But I'm going to be toting the camera and tripod. And so I got to have my hands free for that. Instead of truly doing this and looking at the compass and walking along and being non-situationally aware, that's a good way to get a mechanical injury or step on something that's going to bite you. So therefore, you sight, come up, lock onto it, then walk to it, making sure you're not going to get in trouble. When you get there, sight again. Depending on the environment or the conditions, is how far you get to go. Suppose I'm having to do this at night where I can't see more than just a few feet. See, same idea. You do small leapfrog. Small errors then will add up in the long term, but they're not as severe as if I got off course and I'm slowly Ving away, where I thought I was at like 210 and I'm actually at 212, and I'm slowly doing this, see. When I get there, I was supposed to be here, and I'm showing up over here. Therefore, I want to do that in short leapfrogs. Now, in my pre-planned route and map, my first heading is going to be from this point, and I've got my azimuth. Now, I'm starting with a pre-designated point. Now, how I mean by that is my vehicle is over here to the left, parked, okay? I'm starting, so the first thing I want to do is come to the head, wherever it is I'm starting out of, and I want to turn around and face back and say, okay, when I get to here, my vehicle is up here to the left. If it's in visual range, that's fantastic. If it's not, I need to make a mental note of, okay, the vehicle is over here to the left, so that when I come back, it may be in the middle of the night, and I get back here and I'm a little disoriented. I thought it was over here. See, make mental note of it. Now, I had a good friend of mine many years ago. He went and hiked a trail, and he got his girlfriend to drop him off at a trailhead, and they drove separate cars up there. And so he then, when they got there, they went around to his destination point, and he came in the parking lot and he dropped off his car, loaded back up with her, and she took him around to the trailhead, a distance of about, by trail, 25 miles away, and dropped him off. Over the course of the next 2 days, he hiked that trail. Well, 11 o'clock at night, he was delayed a little bit. He expected to get out of there at about 8, and he got out of there at 11. 11 o'clock at night, he gets back to the parking lot. He comes up and he looks, and it's an empty parking lot. His car's been stolen, right? He whips out his cell phone. He calls and gets a hold of the girlfriend. Tells her what's going on, that he's going to call the PD and etc. He calls, has to get a hold of the sheriff's department because you're out in the middle of nowhere. And the sheriff's department says it'll be a couple hours or probably morning before they can send a officer over there if he's not in any kind of danger. And so he agrees, and he calls his girlfriend. She drives 3 hours to get up there to him. She gets to him. They sit there in the car waiting. Finally, the next morning, the deputy sheriff shows up, and he's giving the deputy sheriff a description of the vehicle. And he says, you've got a blue pickup truck with a white camper shell on it and a Florida Gators sticker on the back glass, correct? He said, you've seen it? He said, yes. They pulled out of the parking lot, went down about 50 yards, and on the other side of the hedge where all the thick bushes were, there sat his truck. There were 3 parking lots in a row, and he didn't know it. He had parked in the first one, and he had came up in the second one. He was less than 80 yards from his car, but he didn't know it because of a barrier. So, always turn around and look at your back at your return, so that when you come back this way, you don't get disoriented, okay? Now, we're going to start off. This is going to be my starting point, and I'm going down through here. My first leg of my jaunt, I'm going to be following this little trail, but I've marked it down anyway. The distance is approximately 300 yards to my next target, my next course correction. So therefore, I'll get my pacing beads out, and I'm going to start using my pacing bead, pulling everything to the top to start off, and that should be about 300 meters. Now, I like to pace short. Now let me explain that to you. If my next turn in this leg is going to be 250 meters, let's say, okay, I will go along doing my pace count, and when I get 200 meters down, which means I should be within like 50 or so meters of my turn, that's when I'll get real particular. I start looking for fine details, okay? if I say it's 250 and I go and I hit about 250 and it should be right here, I may have already paced by it because I ate my Wheaties this morning. The terrain is just a little more downhill and I'm taking a bigger stride or whatever. And I may have gone by it. So I want to come short mentally and then start looking that the turn is coming up. Okay? Now, how I mark my turns, we'll get that in a minute. So, I've got compass, I've got pacing beads, I've got my map, I've got my writing instrument, and I've got my first course. My first course is there. I'll mark this down. Bring my compass into play. Like so, keeping it well away from my knife over here, and I don't have anything on me magnetic. That's not. I'm going to come up to the trailhead, put the compass in the needle, sighting down through there, and I pick my target. I have my target, and I am headed to my first. I'll see you on the other side. Okay, I've completed my first leg and I have now entered onto this old track right here. This is where I was cutting through to. This is my entry point right here. This is where I came into it. So I'm going to take my heel and I'm going to make a marker. Also, I'm going to use a waypoint marker. Now what that's going to do is I merged out here. This looks the same all up and down through here. I put a mark on the ground so I can see it on the ground, and I put a marker up on a tree of something that I will recognize. I know to look for, that bag. I love these Dollar General bags because they're yellow, they're an off color, and something I can spot fairly easily in nature. So I've got several of them in my haversack for marking this trail. Now, my pacing beads, on my pacing beads, it was 300, and by my count, 310 meters, which was a little farther than I had expected. So now I need to change that down here and add what it actually was and the actual time, how long it took me to get here. I checked my watch when I pulled up. As soon as I marked it down, as soon as I got here, I edited it in and put down how long this leg back to my starting point took. Okay, now that I've done that and I've got my thing, I'm changing to my new heading. Now this path right here that you can see down this way, you're going to encounter things out there that you can follow. It may be a power line, it may be a fence, it may be a ditch, it may be a creek, it may be whatever. But as I go across country, I may encounter something like this. I may just be going straight across it, but I'm not. I'm using it to change direction. So I'm going this way about 400 meters. I think it's like 375. So I will reset and begin that leg. I will go, since it's going to be 375, I'm going to count to about 320, and then I'm going to start looking seriously. Okay? So at 320, I start looking seriously to find my marker. On that end, it's going to come to where a trail wise. The path actually takes a split. And where it takes a split there, I'm going to go to the left. And so I need to have a marker there. See what I'm saying? Each section I move to. Now, I'm following this. It's marked clearly on my map. So I know exactly where I'm at right now. Everything is looking exactly the way it should. If at any point you hit something, wait a minute, I didn't remember there being a stream in here. Go back and look at your map and see if there is. If there's not a stream, back it up and check to make sure you haven't deviated off course somehow. Okay? So right now we're about to change direction. So I'm going to my new compass heading, which even though I'm going to be following this trail, I want to make sure I'm still going in the right direction. 10 degrees. I've got 10 degrees. That trail is going roughly 10 degrees, so we're on right. That's the way I can verify that's the right trail too, ain't it? If that trail's going off at a completely different angle, I'm on the wrong trail. Some trails may not be marked on your map or other things. This may be an old logging road. This may be a farmer's something that ain't on the map. So if you are looking for, there's this path, and you find a path, verify it's going in the right direction and everything, because it may be like verify the path to make sure that it's going in the correct direction. Okay, marking the time. Okay, for start time, stay on this path for 375 meters, and then we turn to the right. So here we go. Okay. Now, here's where that path continues on. And here's where it turns left. I'm at this junction right here on my thing. This is the junction trail. That trail goes left and then goes that way. This trail curves that way. I want to go this way. This will be my part coming back. So right here in a very prominent area, I'm going to make me another marker. Dragging my heel. I make sort of a 7 is what I'd use to mark with, but it means I'm going in right along here. Now, at the junction of these, looking for, I should have a heading of. Map says good, heading of. I've marked there. Let's verify on the compass to make sure we're looking in the right direction. Needle in the doghouse. Looking in that direction. Heading is correct. Heading is correct. Okay. I see my most distant target, that tree right yonder. Alright, right there. My distance is 400 meters. I reset up. Don't forget to reset your pacing beads. I don't know how many times that screwed me up where I forgot and I just started pulling down beads and I didn't reset. So always reset your pacing beads when you're starting a new leg and you're doing a pace. So now I'm going to go this way. Now I'll be coming back to this. That would be obvious, but another waypoint marker. Right there. Okay? This way. Okay. Whew. Okay. I have reached my destination. Cutting through this path through here. I know you don't see much of a path. Camera ain't gonna pick it up. It's just barely a deer trail. But I have reached my final destination. Time, distance, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 600 meters. It was about 605 meters to this point, which Jiha is real good with my map. All right. Next, I'm going to come up here to my camp, but I just come out here, put a marker here to start back. Clear out your area, mark with your heel, dig down, get your marker. Okay. Now, I will reset my pasting beads up, and I am now going to go up here to my camp. It's hot, guys. Okay. Now let's say I'm going to stay a day, a couple hours, whatever. When it's time for me to come back out, I know to come to this waypoint marker. And now I'm going to begin back azimuth. Where I had azimuth, I always put back azimuth, okay? And so I come back to here, and I say that my back azimuth is going to be a heading of 194 degrees. So I would get here, I would reclaim my marker, and I'll reclaim these markers as I go, okay? Back. I will make sure my pasting beads are reset all the way around. They are. I will double check. It says 194 is my heading. I will then take my compass, turn around, put the needle in the doghouse, turn to my new heading, which is going to be 194, back up that trail. Alright, that is it. I sight my first target. I come up here and I say how long it is, 600, and how long did it take me? That long. I now start out and head back up that trail. So, let's head back up the trail. Okay, I drifted a little. There's my marker. There's my waypoint marker. I didn't come out here. I drifted a little bit due to terrain, and I actually came out up here close to the trail. So that drifted me off just a little bit. That's fine. I knew this trail went, and I was going to pop up on that trail, correct? So when I come through, I popped out onto this, and I looked around and saw the Y, so knew I was a little bit too far uphill, so to speak. So I've got my waypoint marker and etc. right here. Here's my mark. Here's my waypoint marker I'm now going to reclaim. Put it back in the bag. Now, my back azimuth was following this trail. Okay, exactly like it was. I know this is the right one, but verify. It says is this. Needle in the doghouse, side along the trail, compare the headings. Yep. This is retracing back to my first waypoint marker. Resetting my paste beads. Let's go. Okay, I've come back. Here's my marker I left, so this is where I go back in. Here is also my waypoint marker. I'm going to remove that and put it back into my bag to collect these up as I go. Now I'm going to grab my tripod and I'm going to cut straight through back to my starting point. I know how far it is, and I'm following my back azimuth back. Now, getting right here, according to my pad, my back azimuth should be, so I should bring the compass up, put the needle in the doghouse, compare those two headings. Yep. And I know my distance was 310 and how long it took me. So I'm going back the way I came. Let's get started. And back. I'm back at my ending point, which was where I started at. Okay? My vehicle is over here to the left, so I have reached the end of my trek. I have collected all of my waypoint markers coming back. So here is my waypoint marker right there. I have all of those collected. I'm not leaving any trash in the field. I know where I'm at, and I'm going to my vehicle to leave out. Now's the time, when I get up here in the vehicle while it's still fresh in my memory, to down here underneath, write down any points, anything that I would have changed on this. For example, creek was a bit deeper than I expected. You know, look for shallower, or bring wading boots, something like that. Anything along the way. Yellow jacket nest at campsite 1, things like that. So that when I put this into my notebook, for future coming out, it may be 6 months or a year or longer. I may want to do this trail again, go do this very route again. I can bring this back up, have my notes, and anything that I may have come up with or forgot about en route, I got it. And therefore I can make my own little travel book for it. I hope you've enjoyed this, guys. Thank you very much for all your support. Please leave any questions or comments down there, and I'll do my best to answer them. Till next time, guys, I'm Blackie, wishing you safe journeys. Have a great day, guys.